Testing, testing, testing. One more time with the feeling. This is officially City of Forgotten Care, Volume 3, Episode 1, Knowing Empathy for Incarcerated Avians. And I'm your host, your storyteller, your number one fan, Nobody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your time, your energies, and hopefully you will have as much enjoyment and pleasure as we do with what unfolds with the coterie of the Forgotten.
Let's go, baby! We got this shit.
I don't know what y'all talking about because obvious.
Hey, look, you can sit back and watch, alright? I'm gonna go tickle this fucking vampire's pimple.
Mel's not into it.
He's apparently into weird Vine play or some shit. I'm not a fan, but like, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Squirrel just out here looking to get a nut. I see that my joke has removed. Everything got really awkwardly silent.
Oh no, I was pinging folks and seeing what's up.
Alright.
I'm just looking at
I was laughing.
I see. But no, yeah, worst case scenario, we can still operate. I mean, Sin is getting himself fucked by the firing squad, but that's okay. And I don't think I can 1v1 this guy, but I will. I have shown a propensity to do stupid things, and I will do stupid things.
Well, here's the real question, though, is this Evergreen as powerful as the other Evergreen was?
You're right. Does his luck stand up?
So far, survey says no.
Exactly. Well, no.
I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad about that. Like, this whole time, even me and Ernie are both in agreement on this one. Even though technically in character, Ernie doesn't know that everything is gone. He hasn't heard yet.
Yeah.
But me, I'm like, how? How you let a newbie take you out?
Yeah, it is what it is.
It should have ran.
I'm just going to not try and debate that with you because to me, that was not an option.
Hey, who was running that combat?
Jimmy was running that combat. While the Australians may not be able to beat the emu, they definitely can beat the kangaroo.
Maybe if his spiritual animal was an emu, that combat would have gone better. It stays a raccoon. We got shot with the varmint rifle, sent into the next dimension.
Yeah, there's a lot of fallout there, and I've been weaving little bits and hints and points towards, but, well, you know, pacing is what pacing is.
It's not pun intended.
Little bits and pieces, you motherfucker.
No, the fallout.
Why, whatever do you mean, Sita?
It literally just said varmint rifle. Speaking of which, how's the car situation? Or the insurance situation, I guess.
I turned in all the paperwork, so I should be getting my my funding soon.
That's good.
They're gonna just total out the car completely?
Yeah, they totaled the vehicle.
2 of the 3. Where's the 3rd?
I think I just got hung up on.
Yeah, we need our emotional support, Bruja.
You mean our emotionally needs support, Bruja?
Kinda, yeah.
That one.
Yeah, cause like, we need muscle for this fight.
No, fuck that
If we're
shit.
getting into this fight.
Oh,
Personally, I'm thinking of running.
Running is good. Running is good.
Running is always a consideration. Especially given that, like, if Evergreen, like, approaches morally and it's all of a sudden like, yeah, where the fuck did my backup go?
Where the fuck did everyone else go? Where'd they go?
I'm
Because
just...
literally, as they got out of the car, Mal disappeared.
And Sen fucks off. No one even knowing that he was here to begin with.
Yeah, like, Evergreen is literally only here because he thought one of his allies was in danger, and then said ally turns out to not be here, but Evergreen is not aware that she is no longer here.
What do you mean you have no idea that she's no longer here? She's still on the dock. She may not be in any direct danger thanks to Sin incidentally saving her by having her security force respond like there was a terrorist threat to the President of the United States. But yeah, she's still on the docks.
Oh, so it probably was a good thing that I got caught, huh?
It's one of those failing forward scenarios.
Fuck yeah! I saved my I saved my touchstone by being stupid.
Your touchstone is my criminal contact? Wait
no,
a second.
My touchstone is the person he was meeting.
Oh. I was about to say...
she was meeting.
I was about to say, did Nobu just, like, go into everybody's CC thing and be like, hey, there's this SPC that's already established?
I explicitly asked for stuff like that, but he did that with an adversary.
Because over here, I hear Mal going like, I owe that lady a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now what is it? He recommended my Maola, my enemy, and my sire. Which I don't think any of them were connected to any of you.
It wouldn't that be so lovely if that was not the case.
So, Father Yago is like Harper's sire, isn't he?
Welcome. How we doing?
Meh.
That good, huh? You can't read the server concerns before logging on a live play. It'll weigh you down a little bit. But we have extraordinarily, occasionally less than intelligent players on the coast. It happens. Don't hold it against yourself. Because Kenitha did come clean about you recommending them to come play on the coast. They said it was all your fault.
I don't even know who the fuck they are.
Alright, so feelers are out for Bo. I haven't heard anything back just yet, so we may just hit the ground running and call it a happenstance or for fortunate bit of just things happening.
I mean, Salem was wanting to talk this out, and I suppose it's beneficial that the one person who's less likely to talk it out ain't here right now.
Wasn't he being killed by a vine monster?
Being fondled by one. I don't know about killed by one.
Well, he's already dead, so, there's that.
Well, he was taking damage, though, wasn't he?
Hey, stop reading ahead in the script. We haven't gotten there yet.
You know what? You said fondle.
If you want to kill us off, beginning of the season, go for it. I've got backups on backups on backups. Can't speak for anyone else, though.
Huh.
No, it's hard for me to come up with other characters, because every time I create one, I have to put so much work into it. I get attached. But what I was laughing about is the whole fondle thing, because that's the second time that character's been fondled and not done anything about it.
Why, whatever do you mean? Just because the Traverse City madman is found his cranium very well formed. But, so that we are aware and that we are all on a similar page, if not exactly at the same paragraph, this is actually the start of Volume 3. This is the beginning of, maybe the beginning of the middle, or the end of the beginning, or the beginning of the end. Whatever happens, however it happens, I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for your patience. But yeah, it is Friday. What that means for us is the opportunity to dive back into this world of these characters. What that means for us in the moment also is a little bit of old business I need to take care of. Jaded, unfortunately, I had not properly hit the start record function for OBS on Wednesday. I did make sure that it was there today, That was part of my frustration on Wednesday because I looked to stop the recording and there was nothing recording. And it was a huge fuck me moment. So I was hoping that, you know how sometimes if you open up Word or you open up other programs that has an autosave function, because the program was opened manually and I didn't hit start, it did not save anything at all. Not even a corrupted, recoverable autosave.
Shit happens.
Yes.
Is Evergreen at 6 aggravated?
If you open the correct Evergreen.
You did not open the correct Evergreen because he hadn't been that damaged.
Yeah, I'm looking at the tracker in.
Are you talking about like where you were injured in the pit fight? Because I think you were pretty fucked up there.
I thought I made it out of there relatively okay. I should be undamaged right now, right? I should be relatively unblemished, right? Because we haven't gotten into any fight since the 3 days. No, I'm just looking at my my tracker here in Welcome to Play that I've been using.
Seems to be a bit of a accounting error there. Did you account for the time that was spent healing between the pit, the fire, the fight with the with his Mala? Because there wasn't any damage that he should have taken from that interaction, which means that the previous damage should have been removed.
Yeah, I was pretty sure after the pit, we had like everybody fucks off for a couple days,
Yes.
licks their wounds and all that, and I'm like,
Yes.
okay, because I've not taken any damage since then.
No, your Mala just threw you around. And you guys squared off like brothers in arms who were having a disagreement. So while yes, you all could have taken the claw or guns or knives, you guys didn't. You just shoved each other around.
Yep, it was very much a scenario of this is communication right now. Anything further and it's no longer communication.
But yeah, so yeah. Just a small accounting error. Where's my knife? There we go. And before we dive in, with both feet hanging on for dear life, are there any other questions, suggestions, or hypotheses that we'd like to?
Alright, so, Bo and Salem. What are you doing with them?
Salem's here.
Sorry, Bo and Harper, what are you doing with them?
Yes.
Figure it out.
Yeah, Harper is there. Bo is there. Their efficacy will come down to their stats on the character sheets, basically. They are hollow automatons at this moment.
Don't you know, when the player doesn't show up, their character's just automatically in frenzy 24/7.
That is a nice house rule, you know.
Hey, the sentient driving force behind the body is not there.
I'll need some sort of recap because I barely know where I am in real life at the moment. I know we're at some docks. That's about what I remember.
Yes. You all
We're
were.
at the docks and there's a guy.
But is there really a guy? Is there ever a guy? It's never about the guy, you know that. Alright, so as we are prepared to dive in, and this bag is just going to have to wait because they wrapped it in a mile of tape for some god awful reason. I will put this to the side and deal with that later. Why would they wrap it in that much tape? I have no idea, but they did. This, my fine cadre of players, friends, and associates, is officially, without a shadow of a doubt, the City of Forgotten Care, Volume 3, Episode 1, our premiere of sorts. When we last left our coterie, when we last left this gathering of undead monsters, they had arrived at the docks. Sin was already in presence, unbeknownst to the rest of his coterie mates and members. Bo was already at the docks, unbeknownst to his coterie members and associates. Harper, Evergreen, Salem, and Mal had arrived care of Evergreen's, driving them there in his relatively well-used and well-loved truck to prevent the huge amount of conflated chaos that was in the offing. Friends, family members, associates, touchstones, and loved ones of various stripes, from outright enmity to beloved and cared for individuals, were all homing in to this conflagration. Salem there to assist an associate spying Morley as he boards the ship. Ty-Mac has her hands and affects in play. The Anarchs have their fingers in the pie, and several other sex organizations and criminal enterprises are all homing in on the ship that is pulling in just as the coterie arrives in full. Bo, wrapped in just a huge amount of venomous, poisonous, angry flora. Sin beset by gunfire and security officers designed and deigned to protect their bosses at all costs. To say that the sky has opened up and begun falling on everyone would be an understatement. It is, in fact, the beginning of the end of a lot of things. The ties that bind between the criminal enterprises in New Orleans and the Anarchs. The ties that bind between the Tremere of New Orleans and the various other organizations, enterprises, and sects coming to a full explosive potential. People will be outed, kindred will be destroyed, touchstones will be trampled. There is a lot in play. Everyone present there for their own ends and towards their own aims. And as such, I'd like to thank you all for your time, your efforts, your energies in being here. I look forward to what you all will bring to the table, both actually and figuratively. And without much further ado-ing until we very well don't, this is Volume 3's first inaugural premiere episode. And the episode is entitled, give me one quick second here. Empathy for Incarcerated Avians. As stated in that very brief Cliff Notes, Spark Notes, Reader's Digest version of where we are. The truck you all are exiting has just skidded to a stop. Evergreen is stepping out from behind the driver's seat. Salem is exiting on the passenger side of the vehicle. Harper on their left, closest to the truck. Mal nowhere to be seen across the vast space between where the truck parks and the nearest building to head to the dock leading, well, to head to the on-ramp leading into the ship. Marley has stood and waved towards Salem is a writhing, held, bound figure, all but mummified in greenery that is leaking and oozing this slimy bit of viscous fluid. While off in the distance, further past that building, further past that structure, you all can hear this start of the 4th of July. There are gunshots and discharges of things happening just past those group of buildings there. The ship is there to your right off the river. There is a roughly quarter of a block ramp that leads up onto the ship. It's wide enough that you can drive vehicles up and off of the ship. There's also the dock cranes that are used to transport those hundreds of trailers from the ship to the dock to the waiting trucks that are all in the distance. There is the very real fact that this is a public space with gunfire and activity happening. It is, of course, fraught. So though it doesn't need to be said, I will anyway. What is it you all are aiming to do?
What was our goal here? Why did we come here again?
To protect your loved ones, your touchstones, or maybe get a little bit of comeuppance from your adversaries. For instance, Evergreen recognizes the individual, Morley, who waved towards you. The figure writhing on the ground covered in finery is anyone's guess as to what they are. However, Evergreen also is aware that, thanks to his Mala, that, well, Bridges, his good friend Lieutenant Marcus, is on the scene, working with the security company employed by the docks. Harper was here because a friend of her friend, a local grandmother, one of her touchstone Constance Weaver's grandson, is here. Bo was here due to a favorite ode to Ty Mac. Salem, having spotted Morley and knowing that where Morley goes, trouble tends to follow. There's the very real fact that Gwen's brother, Jacob, who also works security, may be involved. Now, while Jacob is a thorn in her side, he is, well, one of her employees' family members. Mal is here predominantly because of fucking Damaris needing a happy end, lest Damaris become even more of a problem. And then Sin is here due to his debt of fealty and loyalty and respecting his community. He was initially here to protect the workers under Mr. Luong, who operates in and around the docks, employing many of the Vietnamese of the quarter. And that's it in a nutshell. The reasons and ties for everyone being here. Not to mention Mal's visions of what might be in the offing, how it will change the landscape for you all as a whole. Because as your Cody members do, as they draw attention to you all, so too do you all suffer whatever the fallout is.
Let's see.
Well, Sin's just gonna try and slink away.
Salem seems to have had a plan as it applies to speaking with this gentleman, so just despite knowing the animosity between them, he's gonna keep going after Morley. If Morley's organizing this shit, then Morley can put an end to this shit a lot faster than Evergreen can. Also, it would be nice to fuck up whatever plan Morley has, just in general.
How many times did you say Morley in one sentence?
Morley.
Okay, we're not sponsored.
Salem is annoyed that she's been snubbed, but clearly the other Tremere is the key to getting to the bottom of what the hell is going on here.
Yes. One of the many things that people forget about New Orleans is that it is still very much the seat of an international import and export kingdom. The Mississippi River, while not used nearly as often as it once had, is a major tributary to offset, offload, and import as well as export much of the gross national products that leave America. Not everything goes by plane. A lot of it does, but there are still hundreds of ports along Central South America and the outlying islands that need that water transport. Some places are too small for planes, and so ship travel is the only way to get things there and get things away easily. And for that reason alone, anything and everything that comes in through the docks is a matter of, if not national security, local security. It is one of the easiest exploitable entrances for things, persons, and items of potentially destructive results. It is, in fact, a gateway to the rest of the world. Tremere don't want for much, save power and respect. And to get that, they utilize a vast amount of tools, a vast amount of information and items obtained from out-of-the-way places, things that would come, for instance, by ship. Such as the reason for staging a very hostile takeover of the docks to act as distraction for whatever is in fact on that ship.
Okay. I suppose nobody's got any problem with going up that end.
Salem just starts walking that way.
Alright. As stated before, Evergreen's just gonna let her take this moment to try and solve things out of her way. And then if that doesn't work, solve him out his way.
Mal is going to use her not being visible to avoid most of where the shooting is happening, but look for the person she was here to save in the first place. Hoping that if she can sneak up on him and knock him out, by virtue of him not being able to interact with anything, he'll survive the night.
Mal's on a kidnapping mission.
Well, it's more like Hitman. If Hitman wasn't trying to, kill you so much as just render you unable to do anything.
There are no witnesses if there are no witnesses.
There are no witnesses, everyone's unconscious.
The best form of unconsciousness is not breathing anymore. Alright, so we seem to have an idea.
Plants. Decidedly because change is what was. And what that means is just because you decide a thing doesn't mean you actually do it.
That's true, that's true.
And while Salem, being forthright of mind and thought, immediately follows the decided thoughts with actions of closing the distance to get to the ship, to get onto the ship, to sort this out mano a mano with Morley. And while Evergreen falls in line, acting very much like the dark specter of Salem's will, the violence to the calm words that may be spoken, Mal slips into the nothingness, slips between thoughts and between actions, prowling across the dock, while moving in a similar direction as they head nearly straight on towards the ramp. Mal veers further and further to the left, moving past the swaddled and enclosed, encased, wriggling form of Bo as they fight and attempt to break free, and instead of attacking the vine, seems to literally be applying every ounce of mental energy to tearing their arms free, while just on the other side of that building, Sin attempting to break off combat, break off contact with the security agents who have one goal in mind: drop everything. They can sort them out later, the parts, the pieces, or whatever, or whoever this is who threatened their boss and their boss's associate. For that, we need a quick roll from Sin, which would be your dexterity and athletics, and if you make the full 3 successes, you'll be able to roll your dexterity and stealth to sneak away. Because while you're engaged in a 1v2 gunfight with the security officers to your right, there is an explosion of frenetic activity as people begin leaping upon one another, as guns are being fired and knives are being wielded. It is very much the R-rated version of a West Side Story. Once you're a jet for life, except for in this case there are pieces and parts being sent flying into the sky. People are being thrown, and it's only as they are being thrown that you realize that they're not living. There's no way that being thrown that far you'd do anything more than expire, yet when they land, they bounce and they leap back up and charge once more towards the person and being that threw them. You are fully aware that you by yourself, while you have the strength of the damned, are only one individual, and you're at roughly half your cartridge now. You're at half your clip. You don't have enough bullets to put down everyone that is engaging in actual combat.
Okay, so first and foremost, what did you want me to roll?
Your dexterity athletics DC 3. If you make or exceed that DC, you will be able to roll your dexterity and stealth to slink, sneak, skulk, and escape.
3 successes
is in fact enough. So as you're firing and returning fire and dodging, rolling from one crate to the next, as wood goes flying and exploding around you, it is clear that their idea of tactical advantage is just killing everything, including things that are already dead. So long as they don't pick up on your motion, you would potentially be able to evade their notice and get out of their line of fire.
So, if memory serves right, he already had Silence of Death active, and I only fired once.
Yes.
So Dex plus Stealth DC.
Standard.
Alright. I will rouse for this. God. Take this bot. Fuck's. I think that's a failure.
I don't know if we want to call it a failure instead of maybe just a lack of attributable success.
Well, blood increases. That's all I know. And just to make sure, because some things confuse me still, you do not, if your blood goes up, you don't add it to this roll.
No, not to that roll.
Yeah, it's the next one.
Yes. The current roll.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, effectively, your hunger increases over the course of the action.
Using a willpower that is a 3 successes.
Not without effort, and not without nearly giving away your position, but Sin is able to withdraw from the line of combat, the line of sight, the area of effect, because it is not them targeting you specifically. It's almost as if through muscle memory they understand if they were in that position where the next place you might try to hide, where you might try to establish cover. And they're removing those options from what they believe is a mortal, because they only know mortals exist, threat. And in them laying down a wall of bullets, Sin happens to not be where they think he might zig to. He zags instead, and he withdraws, using their focused attention on killing everything, including things that have never been alive, and manages to escape as more bodies crash against themselves. Now, while he, in his peripheral, understood that not everything over there was actually mortal and human and living, that is in fact not completely true for all of the combatants involved. Some of them are in fact human. Some of them are in fact wearing security uniforms. Some of them actually are trying to right the wrong that they see in front of them. There's no way that being stabbed that deeply should anyone continue moving, yet they are. But being caught up in the frenetic action of actual combat, they're not able to rationalize it just yet, nor are they willing to waste the attention that they need to escape, evade, dodge, and otherwise return fire in that moment. And while Sin slinks away, moving towards and past Bo, Mal, do you bother to invest any effort, or do you allow those clinging, crawling, clearly hungry vines wrapping around him, pulling him still and holding him at your disposal? Do you waste the time, the energy, and the effort to free him from those attacks? Or do you continue on towards the gunfire, towards the bullets, towards the sounds of war happening just past those buildings ahead of you?
Because if she makes an effort with him, she'll drop her invisibility and maybe not be able to sneak away again later. But at the same time, he obviously needs help.
Well, he's already dead. What's the worst that can happen? And they are just plants, after all.
Plants don't act like that normally. There's something wrong with this whole situation. I'm going to split the difference. She is going to lean close enough for him to hear without breaking her invisibility. You're doing it the hard way. You might want to try this busting loose. You're strong, right? Bust loose. And then she starts walking again.
Interesting. The idea of leading a horse to water and expecting to drink without being drowned is in fact an interesting one, and you can see as you're whispering to him, the lights are on, the rage is clearly there, and he's looking around for the sound of your voice. One of the many peculiarities of Obfuscate itself is your voice seems to come from everywhere. Your voice, when it rolls from your absence of visual attention, seems to come from everywhere, provided you don't raise your voice above a whisper. Seems to be echoing off everything and anything. And there's no singular location where your voice originates. Yet, as is often the case, as you've witnessed when stalking and prowling potential victims and marks and otherwise utilizing the gifts of Cain that you've been bestowed, there's always that seeking, as if they could just pierce the veil around you, as if they could echolocate where you actually are. And that same often wasteful activity is what falls over him. While his body doesn't go slack, he doesn't give himself over to the flora attempting to consume every portion of him, sucking essence from him through his skin, there is that almost catatonic need to find the source of the voice. And speaking of finding the source of the voice, Morley is, well, there's no way to say it really. He's a bad man. Even in life, he had been an expert extortionist. Even in life, he did whatever was most profitable for him. Damn his affiliations, damn his associations, damn anything and everything save his own fortunes and his own ends. There's no way that he would be here risking if there was not something of extraordinary value. Knowing this, having an understanding as to what he was, what he is, and the many ways that he has, over the course of decades, created his empire, with the sounds of combat in the offing, with the sounds of actual warfare happening, what exactly is Salem's game plan?
She wants to end this fighting at what she believes to be its source, and as a secondary, if there's something on there Morley wants, it's probably something that she wants.
That being the case, having glimpsed the name of the boat, having realized what hour of the evening is, and understanding that the Anarchs are also involved in trying to obtain this, be clearly separate from Morley. He is clearly exploiting others' efforts and energies, while they are clearly across the building engaging security forces and otherwise attempting a smash and grab. He is using the distraction of their efforts to obtain it first. Would you be so kind as to roll your intelligence plus occult standard DC? Now for Evergreen, following along, acting as your muscle, your backup, backing your play, the sound of gunfire brings back well, when you were born. And not born from your mother and father's efforts, but born on the battlefield, when you lost a portion of yourself, when you left a portion of yourself across the pond in the sandbox. What you are, the ever-hungry monster, was really and literally born in the fires of war. You gave portions of yourself that you could never get back. You gave portions of yourself that, by their loss, created where you are now. One thing leading to the next, like a row of dominoes lined up. Once that first one fell, so too did the others. The sound of gunfire brings all of those memories, all of that weight back. The sound of gunfire lets you know that while untenable, doesn't mean it can't be saved. While there's a guaranteed loss in the making, there's still the opportunity. You can still pull the fat from the fire before it's been completely melted into nothing. And Salem seems to have a plan. Salem seems to have an idea. There's roughly 3 to 6 minutes between where you are and where you all are aiming. What are you to do?
Let's see. Yeah. I'm going to just, since I'm effectively following along this moment, there's nothing in my immediate grasp, nothing immediately that I can attempt to sway, or nothing that I can immediately attempt to break. Evergreen's just going to keep a watchful eye on his environment, try and take a moment as they're walking to absorb the elements, absorb what information he has just from his immediate surrounding and what he might have garnered from rumors and whispers that he's heard over the course of the time before, given that he is involved in Timac and he speaks to them on a semi-regular basis. And I would like to attempt a kind of investigation roll to figure out what he knows about this boat and what its cargo might be.
Fire away. That would go ahead and roll your wit plus investigation. Salem, there are battlefields all across the world, many of them right next door. The Tremere have exploited battles, wars, and civil unrest for centuries. It is one of the many ways they were able to abscond, to safely preserve many of the treasures they have from ancient Caledonia. It is one of the many ways they were able to preserve the many treasures from the Grecian summer, when the cities were literally aflame with unrest. They were able to move many tablets, many scrolls, many papyri out of the area. And the same thing with the Egyptian summer, with the civil unrest that was going on there. They were able to remove treasures that unlocked various other larger treasures. This boat, coming from Brazil during a period of civil and financial unrest, as many Venezuelans flee north and south. There is no way that this boat had not been earmarked by Morley because some enterprising member of the clan more than likely stowed upon this ship various sarcophagi, scroll work, spell books, and God knows how many other hematic samples of long gone or dormant kindred. This is the Demeter in the flesh. This is the boat that Dracul entered London on. Say, this boat having made it through customs and border patrol because it was simply another cargo ship of South American and Central American goods bound for America, is the perfect vessel, hidden amongst all of the exotic fruit, the flora and fauna, from jungles and rainforests and cities on the verge of collapse, is the perfect place. And if Morley is able to obtain whichever item he is absolutely seeking, you are sure that there will be hell to pay. It is an arms race of knowledge. This ship is carrying on it God knows how many exotic works of potential death. Imagine a selfish individual who has no compunctions on keeping the balance, having the most expensive, most technologically advanced gun, while everyone else has spears and crossbows. This ship is coming from Brazil in the middle of unrest. There's no way that it's not stocked, filled. And as far as Evergreen is concerned, one of the many ways that illegal firearms are imported and exported on ships like this, they're coming from troubled areas and mixed in with the machinery, most assuredly 1 to 20 cases of leftover firearms from the many hot spots just south of several borders below you. In South America right now, the U.S. is involved in 7 different local conflicts. Right now, south of the border, several borders south, the U.S. is involved in interdiction of several other criminal organizations, collecting, discarding, and otherwise removing their weapons from them as they're clearing out spaces for democracy and, well, putting in the right regime in power. Ships like this are used to take those battlefield tested and used discarded items and bring them back into the U.S. for the black market. There are hundreds, not thousands of weapons on this ship that will hit the streets. And at this case, at this point, based on the sounds that you're hearing in the distance, hit the hands of those very militant and active anarchs to use towards their own ends.
Just as this hits him, he's gonna mutter to Salem, "Hey, I'm starting to get the impression we gotta sink this ship. He ain't the type that ain't gonna let this go. Then I'll give you your opportunity, but what's on this ship ain't getting in his hands."
Sinking this ship would be the absolute wrong course of action.
Why is that?
Because making something wet doesn't make it invaluable.
Oh, when I say sink, I mean fucking destroy, but I think I get the idea. Utter obliteration there.
Doesn't surprise me that would be your go-to.
I'm sorry, are you gonna tell me that you want him getting his hands on a whole boatload of weaponry?
It's probably not weaponry.
What the hell is it, damn?
Something far more valuable, though I don't know what yet.
Alright, well, either way, I'm of mind to not let them, he kind of gestures off towards the gunfire, or him, get any piece of whatever the hell is on here. Of that, I'm sure we agree.
More or less.
There we go. We'll figure out how in particular we disarm this particular bomb later.
And therein lies the problem. A very small problem and a difference in perspective. Because as you all talk and you compare what little bit of knowledge you guys are sharing, not a weapon, but something extraordinarily valuable. Something that could easily fall into the hands of the anarchs. Something that could be absolutely destructive if given the opportunity of reaching the shore. And there's a piece missing. There's one small joining that's missing. And what's missing is the understanding that in Brazil there is a flourishing and for decades thriving Korean community. There are several pockets of what we would call a Chinatown, though it's really a K-town, a Korean enclave. And they've been there for years, melding and mixing with the native sons and daughters. This community has brought with it several other factors, not just peoples. Some of those factors, the Pyongyang, the Korean kindred, have made various inroads towards the study of blood. They've made several connections between the vitae coursing through every kindred's veins and how to use a local flora and fauna to their own end. A way to take the ashes of their elders, their ancestors, and weaponize them. And without that connecting piece, while yes, there are weapons aboard, and while yes, there are mystical items aboard, the true goal, the true end of morally sits just outside of reach. And speaking of just outside of reach, sin making it away from the center of combat, the center of conflict, you're able to take a breath, you're able to take a hot second as you're slinking back around a corner, ducking under a over-jutting crate and holding yourself. You were doing a favor for Mr. Long and your enclave. You were here as a favor. You didn't sign on to fight the entirety of the world, which is what it very well seems like in this moment. The gunfire being loosed and unleashed on the world less than a quarter of a block away from where you are makes it seem like there is actual outright warfare. Not just security forces, but something considerably more indefatigable, something considerably more determined.
So Mr. Long looked like he escaped from the car, correct?
Yes.
With the triangles, or did they go in separate cars?
No, they escaped in the same car.
Okay. Well, nothing I can really do about that. There was the hands of their bodyguards at this point. I still think the best course of action is just to escape. Sin is one man and against an army that includes what seems to be both other kindred and non-kindred. So we're just gonna continue trying to slink away the escaping dogs.
Making your way back away from the conflict, rounding one corner, taking another hall, and moving on. there is a mummy made of various flora and fauna tearing portions of itself free, and you recognize both.
Hey, do you need help? If you wait, like, how far away am I from my van?
There and back about 20 minutes.
Does your last, like, 20 minutes? Does that look like a yes or a no?
It looks like several signs of frustration being carried out in your voice. It is clear as you look from the nearly mummified state to further on, several pieces of large tracts of vinery, several large pieces of plants. There's vitae mixed in. There's just a path of where he came from to where he ended up. It looked as if there was a great world war of green things versus non-green things. And, well, he's currently on the losing side. But the wars, the many battles leading to here show a tale of the tape, as it were. Things are torn and broken, and yeah.
Well, at this point, I guess, do I see anything nearby that I can use to cut him out, or set the vines on fire, possibly him in it?
No.
I mean, those are my options. If they exist.
A tool outside of your vampiric strength? Well, you know, with a little speed, you could create the opening.
Look, man, if this guy's vampiric strength did fuck all.
Yeah, but he's inside the vines.
What the fuck does this power do?
It breaks things.
I don't think it's useful in this situation.
Oh, breaking things is always useful.
I mean, your choice on whether or not the rush job power would work here.
You're gonna give him a little bit of your rushing job.
Give him a quickie.
Alright, that being the case, to be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl and your DC with all of the bonuses possible. Means that your DC is in fact at 3. Now, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity and stealth? And it is a little early, but it is 34 after the hour, so with that roll, let's take a quick 10-minute here, then we'll come right back at 44 after the hour. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, I hope. Everybody back?
Yep.
Hi.
Excellent. We like everybody being back. So, we've got a Bastille, and...
So, my question for the rush job is, would it have applied if I had a tool that I could use to... I don't know if it would count as an attack against the vines.
In this case, I was giving you the benefit of the doubt for it not actually being an attack, because you're attempting to pry bow loose, more so than staging an attack against a conscious opponent.
Alright, I'll go ahead and roll that route check then.
And we're still waiting on Mal's dexterity and stealth roll.
I didn't hear anything about a dexterity and stealth roll.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out why it's acting the way that it has been for you.
For at least route checks, I'm using the other server. Alright, no more blood gain. Or lost one now. For what it's worth, it seems like at the very least Beast is online on the other server, but it's offline on this server.
We will have to suss that out post-haste. That being the case, sometimes you can't lose for winning and can't win for losing, and both of them conflate and combine until the only difference between them is indiscernible to the casual gaze. This is where we find Sin, because yes, he manages to remove them and get Bo nearly completely free. He's able to, you don't get it, the more I fight, and in that small moment, that small exchanging of a phrase, the flora constricts, pulling Sin and Bo into their grip, greeting them like long-lost loves and wanting nothing more than to melt with them into a single existence. And it is, in fact, a win, because unlike the worldwide biosphere of flora, the two kindred are separate entities. They could utilize each other as leverage points to establish and break the connection between the vinery and greenery, attempting to squeeze them into paste. And while that is in the offing, slinking from one moment to the next, ignoring Sin as they head back to help Bo, focus solely on their goal of removing their target. Because at the end of the day, there's a certain point where doing a kindness for someone becomes doing a kindness to someone, exerting one's will over that next person, not allowing their pride or sense of self or agency to have any standing in regards to what happens to them. You're going to take my kindness, you're going to take me, and you don't have a choice in the matter. And that's where Mal finds themselves as bodies go flying past them, as people stumble free, and you glimpse the face of recognized individuals from the quarter, from the view claire, as they make their way past you, and they rush into the fray or are tossed from it, as they are left lying or otherwise damaged. You see the last thing you expect. You see the Anarchs, a group of Anarchs, because unlike the belief of Prince Marcel and most of the good upstanding members of the tower, at least what they say publicly, the Anarchs are not a singular movement. They are not a monolith in terms of how they operate and their end goals. They are disaffected youth. They are a network of networks. They are those who have had enough and are finding their own way forward into the night. They are cells of cells. And seeing this moment as these Anarchs, unbeknownst to themselves, have been sold a bad good of sale, as they've been led here and distracted for someone else's end run. You see several security agencies working in concert and against their own better interests, attempting to stand up to the flow of several anarch cells coming together to achieve whatever goal they were here to achieve. It is in fact a war zone. Bullets flying, bodies flying, people dying, people already dead, hitting the ground. It is your Vietnam, your World War II, your global initiative against terrorism. It is a mess. And you see your target in the full grip of his experiences, in the full grip, and you see a portion of what he could have been, what he was when he was actually a full-fledged enlisted man. Eyes ablaze, muscle memory taking over as he dodges and weaves and moves. He looks exactly like the star of every action movie you've cared to incidentally absorb. His strong jaw and well-coiffed mustache and 5 o'clock shadow. His security forces hat knocked from his head. His hair is flowing. His gun is going. And he's moving like he has a purpose that is God-given. He is a force to be reckoned with. And watching him in action, as much as fucking Damaris gets on your nerves, you can't help but see what she might have seen in such a strong-chinned, brave individual.
That definitely causes her to roll her eyes, but she don't want to go getting attached to something she don't want, and this isn't hers. But keeping him in sight and trying to get close enough to drop him somehow, that's what her goal is.
Oftentimes, all it requires is an ask. And fate, kismet, serendipity, strokes of luck conspire to give you exactly what you wish for. And the problem with that is always be careful what you wish for. Because you don't want to get attached to someone so brave, so determined, someone so inspiring, yet close enough to see the sweat trickle down his brow, close enough to smell the mineral oil from his firearm, close enough to see that unlike the vast majority of the security forces, his clothing is pressed. Even in the hustle, bustle, and tumult of battle, it is clear that he's taken care and consideration after what is his. He is defending property that he won't be enriched by. There's no finder's fee for protecting anything. Yet, in the face of the violence and enmity of kindred even, he is a whirling dervish of focus, skill, and talent. And where you are behind him, he is your aegis. Even though he doesn't know you're there, he is protecting not only the property, but as the muscles ripple down his back, as he dodges and stands his ground, knifing one knee, sending another sprawling before him, whirling and spraying just past you to keep who was sneaking up on you. Wait, no, you, him, who's it's 100% breathtaking. You know what the outcome is. The outcome for every living thing is eventually death. But in this moment, seeing that skill on display, seeing how focused and driven he is, it is, well, there's something alluring about the dark. There's something warning about knowing a dangerous man willing to put everything he has on the line for you. There's something magical watching that violence be vented, watching him use those very clearly well-learned skills to put down every opponent.
My audio go out? Hello?
No, hi. Can you hear me?
I'm starting to wonder if what she said right as you came back might be that she's going AFK.
No, I'm here. I'm
Oh.
here trying to figure out what Mel gonna do.
Oh fuck, the fucking power cord.
Person right under her breath. Well, he probably wouldn't hear her with all the gunfire anyway, but I can't let him kill the girl and fucking clip her leg. How much taller than me would he be?
Mal is, if I'm not mistaken, she's 5'4", right?
Yeah, about 5.
8 inches.
Okay. Well, we gotta do what we gotta do, right? And oh, she's 5'6", actually. Not bad.
Oh, okay. So only 6 inches.
But so yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, he's strong, but she's kindred, so should be an even enough fight, right? He's going to try to get her hands around his neck and put him in a sleeper. I know that's gonna drop the invisibility, but that's all we can do.
Alright, that being the case, first things first, let's go ahead. You rolled a 4. Did you roll a 4? Yep, there you go. You rolled a 4 successes on your dexterity and stuff. What is his, in fact, wits and awareness? We got a... Okay, so let's see what the outcome is of your sneak attack. Well, he missed by 2. By 1. That means that your sneak attack is 100% effective. You manage to move forward. We're not going to have you roll for your grapple, but you have him around the throat, and it is clear that instincts are falling into place, because instead of freaking out like most people would as you wrap your arms around his neck and try to pull him back off balance and get full control, he doesn't fight. He doesn't freak out, not in that way. He places the gun against your side, and as the still warm, almost too warm feeling of the gun resting against your side, it doesn't take someone with premonition to know what his next action is. The calmness and determination that he exhibits, well, nothing like a man on a mission. And speaking of man on the mission, when you make it to the top of the ramp, there are several others that have been put into place and are still being moved, because most of the system, unlike what most people assume, is in fact automated, especially on the overnight ships. Unloading the ships, most of that is done with an extremely skeleton crew. And for the companies that seek to minimize costs, that skeleton crew is even smaller. So while this ship could literally hold the entirety of persons that live in the quarter, operating it is a crew of 12. Operating the machinery to remove the trailers, operating the machinery to bring up the vehicle-sized pallets of other trailers is a crew of 12. Almost as if the organizations that have their fingers in the pie of the docks have utilized these lower senses of the staff to their benefit. And while there is only a crew of 12, there is in fact Morley, easily spotted his well-tailored coat as he makes his way across the deck of the ship, as trailers are lifted into the sky by the cranes that are moving them down the ramp down onto the dock itself, as the crew, too busy with the hundreds of things that they need to do, pay him no mind, because after all, no one's allowed down here except for personnel that belongs. And if he's here, clearly he's the person that belongs. Look at the fact that he looks to be dripping money in his wake. And it's funny that the time that it's taken you all to cross the docks and make it up the ramp, he has still not made it completely across the deck of the ship. That is just how wide and large the ship actually is. And as you all make it to the top of the ramp and catch its backside, as the crew, well, the two individuals you can see from where you are moving about and working at the cranes, pulling trailer upon trailer up, and the center of the ship is opened so that the cranes can reach down the side and grab the trailers. He blithely is making his way across the deck, his cane somehow still audible from where you all are. You're sure that even with the machinery beeping and buzzing in the background, that he would be able to hear you if you but raised your voice.
So the dock workers do not seem to give two flying fucks about the sounds of violence and gunfire 300 meters that away.
Not at all. Unlike the kindred, they're not gifted with that understanding of separating the sounds of machinery pounding and ringing in their ears between their earplugs and the sound of the crane, and the fact that they are still raised several stories into the night air. And as much as you all don't want to actually bother to understand it, there's a certain expectation they have about New Orleans. There's certain expectations they have about the South. This the murder capital of the U.S., boys. You gotta be. And while for you, it's home. And for you as kindred, you understand the dangers of those sounds. For them, that's what the city sounds like. Might be a good time out there.
True enough. All right. Well then, coming up to the top of this ramp, Evergreen will just kind of tell them, you want me to try and get them to stop from unloading this shit, or do we want to focus on him more than them?
Whatever they're unloading is not what he's after.
Alright, we'll let them be then. Let's get this show on the road. Sounds of it, things over there ain't doing nothing but continuing on with the same level of heat they is. I don't want to be here in case that fire goes a little brighter.
How close are we to anyone who's actually working?
60, 70 feet.
Alright, so not very close then. We will continue onward.
Alrighty, yep, doing the same.
It'd be impossible to hear you. Your foot falls across the metal deck beneath your feet. It's impossible to hear. There's just no way. Above the beeping and pinging and the banging and the gunfires in the distance, it would be impossible for anyone to hear your footfalls, yet he stops and turns. A light frown playing out across his brow, almost as if he's concentrating on something that may not be present. And then he shrugs, a literal like, what the hell, and turns back on his heels and continues on. Would you both be so kind as to, if you're trying to close the distance, roll your dexterity and athletics. If you're simply following along, no need to roll. It will be another couple of turns before you all are on the far side, the starboard side of the ship, heading down the stairwell into the lower bows.
Salem, would you prefer to just keep calm and follow along, or do you want to catch up to him?
She's not the running sort.
Do you want me to catch up to it?
I mean, that's up to you, but it could end poorly.
True enough. Well then, as I said, I'm keeping to your plan for this particular thing until we see how it turns out, so yeah, we'll follow along with him. I attempt to ever so steadily catch up.
She will change her trajectory some to head towards one of these workers while still heading the general direction we were going.
No, like, my thought is, inaction is the only improper action, okay? And if we leave this alone, motherfucker might get to something down there we don't want him getting to. I'm gonna try and catch up and hopefully not engage in a full frontal before Salem gets there to talk things out.
Dexterity athletics contested. And Salem, as you're drawing near one of the workers, what is the aim? What is the goal? What are you attempting to do?
Gonna get their attention, lock eyes with them, and tell them that they should bring me a copy of the manifest. Tell them in that irresistible sort of way.
Off guard, not. What was the. Ooh, okay. Off guard, not any real resistances against such a thing. The gentleman whose eyes you make contact with, the sailor who is one of the skeleton crew here on this ship, nods along. And turns on his heels, disappearing across the prow, knowing that, well, it will be several moments. He has to make it up and get to the documents, find the captain, wrestle him for the manifest and the like. So as he heads off to do just that, and you're left aboard the ship. Several hundreds of feet away, as Evergreen takes off like a dart, attempting to close the distance and stop whatever is happening or might be happening from continuing in the present trajectory. Halfway down, a flighter steps into the bows of the ship, You catch up to Morley, your feet sounding loudly off of the metal steps and echoing back to you as if there are more of you than there actually are. Undeterred, Morley pauses and waits, allowing you to draw within the conversational distance.
What are you doing here, Morley? This ain't your place.
Good evening, Evergreen. Of course, it would be far better if you were not here. Allow me to give you a bit of advice. A small measure that you can take to heart. That is the difference between you and I. You, like all chaff, have a place. You are bound by ethics and morals that don't have your best in mind. The moment you stop living for others is the moment that you find that you don't have a place save what you make for yourself. And because I find you interesting, divergent, more nights than not, I'll give you the opportunity to leave. And he rests both hands atop his cane and slightly leans forward. It's the sort of maneuver that if you all were on a schoolyard anywhere else in the world, at a bar, at a pub, at one of the many drink carts along Bourbon, would be an invitation to take your best shot. It would be a invite to put your money where your mouth is. Here, on this dead ship with this skeleton crew, with warfare happening so very close as to smell and taste the gunpowder in the air, it could be anyone's guess as to what his meaning of such an action is. The one thing that you are sure of, the one thing that you are aware of and know with all true understanding of knowing anything, is that Morley has never been physical. In all of your interactions in and around him, he has never been physical. Yet that moment in this space, on these steps, with you having the high ground, that very much seems to be what he's inviting you to do. To get physical. And that damn devilish, sly, razor blade smile sitting there on his lips, so very smugly in place, seems to only add to that. And speaking of adding to that, a devilish grin, a knowing understanding of what is what. Sin, you are not a lover of men, nor have you ever been a lover of men. And not that you can't appreciate the beauty of another living individual, but being this close to a vitae-stained, sweaty monster of a man is not your definition of a good time. The fact that you two are bound so very closely together lets you know that he probably should have fed tonight. There's a hunger in his eyes that you are all too familiar with in your own. There's a realization that you've never had until this moment. Kendra can sweat? And then there's the stinging touch of whatever this fluid leaking from these plants are. You realize that your shirt and the skin along your forearms is beginning to look as if it has been, well, desaturated. And the small scent of cordite begins to fill your nostrils everywhere where this liquid is actually touching skin. And you realize that, well, there's death, and then there's death. But the one thing you know you don't want to be is dissolved in the pseudo-stomach acid leaking from these plants.
So being melted by plants in a sandwiched with a man who looks like he wants to eat me. I'm gonna try and escape.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to roll a contested strength plus athletics plus 1? Because you're not the only one that's trying to get out of this. Bo has been trying to flee, fight, fang his way free for a very long time without anything to actually get leverage against. But now he has something to get leverage against. You.
And have I already taken any damage from this?
No, not as of yet.
Okay. Messy critical.
Lightning-like inspiration never comes from where you think it does. For hundreds of years, mankind has thought lightning has originated in the sky above one's head, as if it was thrown from Mount Olympus by Zeus, or if it was God themselves just striking persons, trees, and things down with lightning, hurling it like the weapon they imagine it to be. Truth is, lightning comes from the ground. Lightning comes from the earth. Doesn't come from some all-knowing, all-seeing sky father. No, lightning comes from the ground beneath your feet. And it is a shock for many to realize that. And in that same measure of, oh, that makes no sense, I thought it was, so too is the sheer monstrosity of sin's determined actions. Instead of trying to simply break free, some portion of himself, like a drowning man, begins to lash out, to attack that which is attempting to swallow him whole. And in the doing, he and Bo receive their freedom in the most costly of way for the plant as you've ever seen. Their actions combined, working in concert, defeat the entirety of the focused efforts of the plants as they tear it to shreds in pushing off of each other, in lashing out from each other, and working in concert, they defeat the grand beast that was attempting to swallow them whole, to digest them like yesterday's leftovers. There's something about almost dying in someone's arms. There's something about sharing the victory of escape. And beaten though he is, and starving though he is, Sin and Bo both share this moment. Both share an understanding that, yes, there's dead, and then there's dead. And they were almost the latter. They were almost a permanent version of that, instead of their promised immortality of them continuing on. And then, uncharacteristically, Bo offers a spewing of information. Timac is here. We've got to help them. They're a friend of mine. There's a guy on the ship. We gotta get him off the ship because we need to protect what's on there. It's uncharacteristic, though Sin wouldn't know that.
I mean, I already saw Timac drive off. I'm sure she's fine.
Wait, you know Timac?
Everyone knows Timac?
Yeah, that makes sense. But we gotta get that guy off the ship. I don't know what he's here for, but it can't be anything good. And there's a gang that she was worried about that's going to be making an attack. They're going to be dressed as security officers. We gotta stop them too. But first, let's get the guy off the ship. Come on.
Okay. Guess I'll follow.
And while he has slightly longer legs, and while he has a slightly wider body, there's something about keeping pace with him that puts a little feather in your cap. Something about being able to apply yourself towards a common goal, to be working in partnership with someone willing to, well, put their money, their mouth, and their bodies where their beliefs are. Speaking of beliefs, speaking of putting oneself at risk, there's a gun against your side. There is a calm, rational individual who understands that bullets are a perfectly fine handshake by someone who sneak attacks you. What is it that you are attempting to do, Mal?
Mal is going to put her mouth near his ear and say to him very clearly, if you don't come back to her tonight, she's going to try to kill me. I'm trying to keep your stupid ass alive. You're outdone.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma, and what do we got that may even remotely help you outside of, do you have leadership? Do you have, because you aren't being honest, so either leadership or persuasion and your charisma. And your successes are contested by him preparing to pull his trigger, by the way.
I also have a specialty in persuasion called fast talk. And
yeah, you're trying to convince him of something. Sure, let's go ahead and use that, shall we?
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. That's what we like to see right there.
Oh, that is phenomenal.
Oh no! No!
You roll 2 crits there whenever you feel powered.
Fate has other things in store. Some people meet cute over cups of tea or vignettes or having a similar taste in movies. Some people have all of the beautiful stories to tell how they found the loves of their life. That is not the case for Mal. In fact, just the opposite. You'll be able to tell his children and his children's children that you all met because his actions, brave though they were, were foolish enough to put you both in absolute jeopardy of your immortal standing. His soul and your body, as the bullets tear through you, as he manages to squirm and push and cause you all to fall as a hail of bullets strikes exactly where you both were. There's a hilarious contrivance in the chaos of battle that washes over you all. He fighting for his life, him not willing to believe you in regards to her. There's far too many hers in mind, namely the love of his life, Salem, the woman he watches from a distance who employs his sister. She knows he'll be back. He would never leave her to the cruel vicissitudes of fate. You've got to be lying. He's never seen you by the shop. He's never... And there's all of those recriminations. There's all of those doubts take hold. And your fangs are revealed. And the darkness in Mal's heart dances so very close to the surface as to be scalding to the touch. The manifest in hand has not come without a cost, has not come without a price. There's blood on the corner of the clipboard. He looks as if he's been through a squall, a storm of bodies and things being tossed at him faster than he can dodge. He has a fully coming into bloom black eye, and there's a klaxon actually sounding from the bridge of the ship. What exactly? One, does Salem speak Spanish? Well, read Spanish, just in case it actually is. And not just Spanish, but Chechen, Portuguese, and French.
Oh, but she is fluent in Latin, so she might be able to discern it from that.
Oh, yes. Well, certain things are a little bit more... Certain words are easier to find their approximate in most languages. You know, there's mort, je suis mort, for mortal, dead, and the like. What you don't expect to see on the invoice of a ship, on the manifest for a ship, are several words for casket, several words for huge quantities of caskets. There's no way that this can be true. There's no way that can be factual and actual. Because if you are reading this even remotely right, there are 60 coffins, 60 caskets from some pyramid that are being imported into the country to be picked up by a company you were hoping to never ever see. About 10 years ago, there was an influx of, Hakata. They were a Sandi organization, much like the Hakata that you dealt with considerably more often. But this particular company is a northern company, it's a carpetbagging company that had come with the idea of taking over the Chantry. They didn't come to attack anyone else. They didn't raise any trouble with anyone else. They purposefully targeted the Chantry. You all fought several major battles over artifacts that were found in various crypts around New Orleans. And that's the company that's going to pick up these caskets. That's the company that's going to pick up these artifacts. That's the company that's going to verify their provenance.
What are Morley's political affiliations?
Yep. He helped them. He helped them. One of the many times where his roguish self-interest served no one but himself. He helped them because it was easier exploiting them than the already entrenched other Tremere of the Chantry. He helped them solely because it was easier to profit from them and exploit them than anyone else. And it seems as if he is either exploiting them again or finding, well, a new side to serve besides himself.
Alright, well, I'll tuck the manifest away and I'll suggest to the gentleman who was kind enough to provide it to me that he should forget I was ever there.
One unprotected success to another. With that knowledge in hand, knowledge in mind, the stairwell is the wrong place. The stairwell is what most would consider a death trap. Those stairs, if you fall down them, could easily break a neck, break an arm, cause all sorts of injuries and harms that would take 8 to 12 weeks to heal for the living. You have what most would consider the high ground, because the only way out that you are immediately aware of is behind you, Evergreen. And there's the slight smile and leaning forward on his part. Leaning forward towards you, giving you the opportunity to, as they say, take your best shot.
Okay. Well, I think we've all got a good understanding of Evergreen's convictions from the prior event of being fucked around with. This sucks. This is really one of those. The game is set up to challenge your character's convictions. You know, the easiest way to gain here is now also the most dangerous way to gain here.
Just do it, coward.
I'm not a coward. I'm going to do it. I'm just lamenting it. All right. Yeah. The stairs being what the stairs are. This motherfucker being what he is. You know, we're just gonna try and tackle him down the fucking stairwell. You know, he said, "Give me your best shot." And I'm taking him.
Be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl.
We're just gonna risk it for the biscuit because it is what it is. All right. Okay, that's gonna be 6 successes on my part. So tell me, nobody, what what does that maximize crit button do?
Well, you know what they say. There is a direct correlation between fucking around and finding out.
There is. And I do see that 10 on the hunger dice, so there is that idea there about, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I lost it all! Thanks, Sin. You did this to me.
It is not funny, but it is in fact very humorous. There's no way that a being who has never existed in the physical spectrum, as far as you are aware, should be able to do what it is that just transpired. You leap. and so does he. In your head, you see it as two giants, two colossi crashing against each other. In reality, in the moment, as you brace for impact, you realize that while gravity has a effect on you, pulling you forward faster and faster based on your own strength-derived momentum into crashing and dragging him down the steps end over end, he floats up. You watch his body, his legs, his cane, the overpriced outer coat that he's wearing float past your grip as he hovers over your head. And you feel gravity pulling you in the opposite direction of your imagined impact as he floats up and up out of reach, and gravity pulls you further and faster towards the depths of despair, one metallic step after the next slamming into your form, sending you 1.5, 2 stories down into the bowels of the ship.
Hell yeah. It's necessary. From an outside perspective, this is the setup where you make the villains seem very threatening. This works. Cinematographically, this works. I'm gonna get that ass, nobody.
There's a question that pops into your head as the metallic iron and steel steps rise up
Also
there,
pop into my head.
smack you repeatedly, is when did Kindred learn to fly? When did Kindred learn to float weightless like some strange graceful bird? Because you didn't get that patch update. You'd like that patch update right now to escape the cruel bombard of touch of gravity. Clang, 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 clang.
Yo.
And speaking of clanging and moving along relatively clumsily, that is not what you and Bo do, Sin, as you mount the ramp and you spy Salem there on the deck of the ship. Bo, in his inimitable best just survive death state, rushes towards Salem. Where's the fancy guy that looks like you that I can actually hurt?
In a movie somewhere?
The guy with the trench coat. He's clearly here to do something, and even if he wasn't, I'd like to fuck him up right now. He made a plan to attack me. Where is he?
One would think that after being attacked by a plant, that perhaps one should exercise caution in further interactions with this individual.
There aren't any plants on the ship. Where is he?
But there are other things.
You're a wizard like Gandalf. Why don't you stop him from doing those other things so I can put my hands through him? Where is he?
Can't save you from yourself.
Whose side are you on anyway? You're working with him?
On the side of logic.
So do we just see this flying fight going on, or is that like the further inside?
No, that's further inside.
Okay, just want to make sure.
You guys are on the deck of the ship. You're up top. You're top side.
And logic dictates that if I let you run off like a panicky idiot, as you are wont to do in most situations, you're just going to get your ass kicked again. So fall in line.
You know, I think you're trying to put me down. You're trying to talk down to me. Luckily, words don't really matter. Action is what counts. So you know where he's at?
Sleep at night.
Do you know where he's at? Are you going to lead the way to him? Or are you going to point me towards him?
No. At least one of those questions.
You know, no one likes you.
And yet you need me.
So as you all are posted up with Bo doing his usual, his abrasive best to not seem weak or bothered by anything.
So, I don't know what's going on here other than it's a fucking war zone. I honestly can only remember some of your names, but this big guy seems to think someone needs to get their ass kicked. Can we just get a move on already?
Other than Evergreen running off into the boat, I think we've got what we need here. We can't stop what's going on. I don't know what's going on with the Beirut situation down there.
Well, the guy in the trench coat is the epicenter. See, you're not the only one that knows big words. Of the problems. If we put him down, we're able to stop whatever's going on over there. The boat's what's important.
How would that work exactly? If you were to come kick his ass on the boat, how would that stop the thing that's half a mile that way?
Because he's clearly behind it.
Okay, and? Do you think he's a power switch? Like if you flip him, everything else will stop in the area?
Well, if I showed them his head on a pike, I'm sure that'll be surprising enough to stop them from doing any other stupid ideas.
You ever heard the expression, bitten off more than you can chew?
It's never happened yet.
You just got your ass kicked by a plant.
He surprised me. He won't be able to surprise me now.
I fear a great many things surprise you.
So we have one plan, and that's go inside, back up this Evergreen guy, and kick this wizard's ass? I mean, what's your plan? Salem, right? What do you want to do?
Got the information I came for. I'd like to solve the side things that we had going on down there in the war zone and get out of here. But first I have to herd all the kittens into one pile.
So does that mean we need to go find this Evergreen guy? Since he's probably the closest?
That becomes a conundrum because I'm sure that if I were to lead you farther into the ship that it would just become more of a problem.
Well, it's already a problem. We need to find our guy, kick that guy's ass. You say you don't want to kick the guy's ass, we won't kick the guy's ass. But if our guy's inside, we should at least rescue our guy.
Can't save people from themselves.
How would you know? Doesn't like you try much of anything, anytime, anyway.
Well, by all means, run on then. Be careful of plants and other animate objects.
So you're not gonna help. Typical.
Oh, I'm helping. I'm getting out of your way and letting you fuck yourself up. That's what you want, right?
I don't want to trust the Tremere. Always working an angle. Come on, let's go find him.
I'm not sure what your preservation was an angle, but by all means, go kill yourself. I'll be at the car. If you're not back in 10 minutes, I'll take the car.
I guess I'll follow Bo. Let's flip a coin real quick. I don't really care where. Stevens, Bill, odds, Salem. It was a 12. Alright, Bill, I'm coming.
Yeah! TPK, baby! Yeah! I mean, this is perfectly normal, perfectly fine. It will be silky smooth eventually.
Hey, it's not a TPK if one of us is smart enough to walk away.
Look, once more, we're getting into the same situation again. It's a repeating theme of this campaign. The female of the species is the much more intelligent version.
Well, it all depends on the version of intelligence.
They're also the ones that are more than likely to survive.
Indeed. And speaking of almost surviving, as the bullets tear through you, and tear through where you both once were, and you go tumbling into the muck, the mire, the dust of combat, the fog of battle, what in fact is Mal's stamina? How many dots does she have?
It's 2. It's got 2.
Okay. Well. You are sure by the simple fact that you've already died once, that you've experienced more pain than having bullets tear through your space of existence. You're sure that somewhere along the way you experienced more pain than that. You can't in this moment remember when. Because hot lead fired at near the speed of sound is in fact quite painful. And as the bullets tear through you, and a snarl of anger replaces your reasoning, temporarily flashing to the darkness that exists in the center of everything you are. You managed to keep him safe. The impact that was going to tear through him and end his existence has passed, as far as you are aware in the moment. Or maybe it's just your general frustration at being shot. But part of you feels that your job is done. You've already given more towards this than this moment deserved. The question is, do you fight that urge back? Do you attempt to do more? You could.
We can pitch that in for shoot her. So it's more of a fight on whether she's gonna put her teeth through his throat right now or walk the fuck away.
Why not both? He did cost you. It's only right that you get it back.
Besides, easiest way to subdue somebody is to bliss them out, as it were. So, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go with that. Kind of tumbled down with him and they kind of rolled next to each other and fucking shot me, you asshole! And goes for the throat.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to roll your strength and brawl? It is contested. He is fighting for his life, or has been fighting for his life, or believes that he's fighting for his life. The question is, how successful is he and you? Is that your final roll? Is that the final outcome?
That's my final roll of 3.
Okay. Would you like to oh, you've already rolled, so I can't offer that to you, but yeah. Statistically, that is not going to be high enough. Let's see what fate decides. I'll give him a -1 penalty because we would expect to be bitten and eaten like that. Taking it down to 6. Let's see what happens. What does fate hold in store for you? Oh my goodness. You are sure that he's going to fight you off. He has you literally almost off the ground above his head. He's pushing you with nearly every ounce of strength he has, and the gun is turning towards your face. And when he sees your fangs protruding from your teeth, instead of being afraid, instead of freaking out and pulling the trigger, instead of using his already in place, slid into place knee to force you further away and kick you off of him, he relents. Almost as if he knows what that is. Almost as if he has been here often enough to know what happens next. And all of that skill at defending himself, at fighting off the dangers around you both, dissipate. You don't bother to look too deeply into his eyes, but if you were able to, if you had paused yourself, there would be a welcoming understanding in that moment. One, that he was right, that you are a danger, that you are a monster, and two, that you have exactly what he needs. But that's in the perfect world. That's in the moment where you're able to make a connection on the battlefield. But in the moment, all that matters for you, for your beast, is success. That hot, heavy, choleric blood coating your tongue, easy down your throat, and that vibrancy of want. There's an art to being a donor of note. There's a skill that only the practiced can ever replicate. And as your fangs sink home, it is clear that he has that skill. It is more than apparent that you're giving him exactly what he most enjoys. And speaking of most enjoys, as you tumble down the steps, finally reaching the bottom, finally catching yourself on the railing and stopping you from dropping completely into the bowels of the ship, looking skyward as he floats overhead. What most glaringly occurs to Evergreen? What pops into his head as he understands what a slinky feels like?
Sorry, my fucking mic was off. What goes through his head is a lot of confusion as to how in the fuck that guy can fly. B, when are these stairs going to end? And C, how hard is it going to hurt when I actually stop?
Indeed, do. And then you see Bo and your Asian driver that threatened to drive you off the pier come rushing in. Their gaze looking for you. They don't realize that floating over their head is, well,
Alright.
the source of your happiness and damnation.
Do I have an opportunity to shout out for them while I'm Tim tumbling?
Yes, you can.
Just very much. Just a very quick, very painful grunt coming up from the stairwell. Just look up.
Then you and Bo, as you rush down the steps, and you see Evergreen tumbling ass over kettle down the steps ahead of you, falling further into the bowels of the ship. What is it that you do as a very faint, though masculine, reaches you? Do you have any heightened senses?
Oh yeah, they were active, weren't they? But I was like deafened because of all the gunshots, wasn't I? So I think I'm stealthy?
Yes.
Yeah, the hearing was active.
Excellent. Hearing's always a good thing. Hearing's a good thing. A great thing. Combined with sight, there's awareness and awareness, which means sometimes you go ahead and roll your wits and awareness. Your DC is standard. If you get less, you only get a partial look up. If you get 3 or higher, you are completely aware. It can act as if you have heard him clearly.
Wits and awareness, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And what DC? 3?
Yes.
You know what? I want to willpower this, but I feel like this is more interesting.
Oh. Well, you're not sure who the fuck he thinks he's yelling at or cursing at, but that's a bit fucking rude. You're not even sure when he learned Cambodian, the Cambodian derogatory for Korean peoples as a whole. But the fact that he spies you from a distance and immediately starts with the slanders and slurs, that is fucking unconscionable.
Guess I'll just take a moment to be offended.
I'm really gonna stop trying to communicate with the party.
Yeah, stop shouting, just talk.
I'm falling down the fucking stairs, cunt.
There is a balance of effort. There is a balance of things. Like, effort gets you something, even if that something is just abject failure. Salem has the manifest. Doesn't know how powerful the vitae that may be at his disposal, or what he would want in exploding those Samdi once again and obtaining fuel. That's what vitae is. Even the vitae or blood of former saints locked in their blood. The ability to utilize that fuel, whatever it might be, is what's at stake. And as you make your way down the ramp and you can look towards your northwest of where you are, you can just see the edge of the building as the fight moves further away from the docks, because the security forces are, strangely enough, effective in staving off these two different cells of anarchs who are here to steal whatever is on this ship. You can see them as they're fleeing there in the distance. The gunshots growing more wane as you exit the ramp. Does Salem stick true to her word? Does she leave, or does she head to the vehicle where Reverend Noel is waiting, having decided the best part of bravery is discretion? The only way to win every war is to not fight it.
She will walk up to the car and look at Harper and then look at the time on her phone and say they have 8 minutes.
We can always warn them. Why are we waiting? They can find their own way. Mallory had the right idea. She left ages ago.
Oh, I doubt they're coming, but I told them they have 10 minutes, which they have 8 left.
When did you start counting those 8 minutes?
When I told them they had 10.
You're not being judgmental enough. We should just leave. They can find their own way. I mean, if they really cared, they would have escorted you off the boat. That's what a gentleman would have done.
Have you met them? There was a chance to punch something.
I think we should hold that model true for ourselves. We should utilize this moment to punch something, namely the gas.
I'll give them a few minutes. Maybe they'll come to their senses. I doubt it. I'm with you on this, but I told them they had some time. So maybe they will. One of them will get soundly trounced or murdered. The rest of them will run away. I don't.
They are aware that the Border Patrol is still operating in this area. And that they have policing powers that could cause us all to die permanently.
Kind of operate under the assumption that they're not aware of much.
And speaking of not being aware of much, coming to a stop before hitting the absolute bottom bowels of the ship, and Sin and Bo, who didn't really pay much attention and is charging down the steps towards you. Where is he? Are you all right?
I told you he's above you, you jackasses.
I look up. Do I see a man in a trench coat who's asking to be booked?
Yes, and it makes no sense. There are certain mythologies and rumors that entered into the popular zeitgeist. Friend of a friend and in popular media about kindred being able to turn into bats and wolves and fly and use magic and do all sorts of wonderful wild things. You've been dead long enough to know that was part of the Big Fang corporations of the tower to make sure that the humans could never know exactly that you all exist. It's all lies. It's all movie magic. No kindred can fly. Yet sitting there above your head is very much that, a flying kindred. And Bo looks up. That's the plant guy!
So, Sin's thoughts go like this. I'm going to shove my baton so far up that... Oh hey, he really is a wizard. Pulls you're just gonna take the gun that he already has out and fire at the fucker. Repeatedly.
Always a good thing to fire a very loud gun in an enclosed space that will echo and cause the ricochets to, well, tear through the space. Let's make it happen.
He's already deaf. Well, what do you want me to roll for this?
Dexterity firearm -2. And while that is happening, Bo helping Evergreen to his feet, trying to figure out how to, and then he realizes Evergreen is just within his weight class, and that's only 3 stories up. He can easily swing Evergreen directly at that plant guy. Evergreen, having been experienced with Bo just long enough, can almost see the plan sliding into place like huge texture squares, and knows what is flitting behind those dark eyes. While outside, as your fangs drive home, you don't want to. You are offended. You are hurt. And yet, it is a struggle to not continue drinking. It is a struggle to not fall in love with this will to survive that is underpinning all of that hot, almost scaldingly so, choleric blood that is coating your tongue, that is filling your mouth, that is slowly creeping through your soul, filling up all of those cracks, sealing them over and making them feel absolutely brand new.
But there's the fact that she promised she would save his life. So taking his life would not work. It'd be counterproductive.
It would be. But he'd be with you, so technically he'd always be alive as long as you are.
No. She's far too annoying to have to deal with all the time. So that alone is enough mentally to get her to stop and lick the wound shut and just leave him there.
Alright, so stop and lick the wound. Do me a favor, go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure. Standard DC. Because yes, he is unfortunately that alluring in his blood. It's combined with the fact that he knows what was to happen next, combined with the fact that he would fight with tooth and nail to his very last breath. All of that mixing and melding with the pain that he calls incidentally in protecting his life is alluring. Your conscious mind says no, your beast says why not? There's room enough for everyone here inside us. The best way to keep Damaris at an arm's distance is by knowing all of her intimate secrets. She hates being perceived. She hates you knowing in advance. She counts on you knowing in advance just as much as she hates it. You could be free of her permanently because you found someone who understands her on such a binarily basic level that he has been able to avoid, evade, and counteract all of her insanity. He's the perfect
Yeah,
weapon.
but one of my convictions is survival first, victory second.
That's a good one. I'm stealing it.
survive.
Is this something I can rouse for?
Yeah. It is. And it's based off of your abilities. And as long as it's based off of an ability, you can, of course, rouse. Or you can succeed with the cost before you roll.
Let's go with succeed with the cost. Because I only have 3 dots total in that whole pool.
What is Mallory's best day? What would be a perfect day to her?
We have 3 or 4 sessions for palm reading lined up. No problems, no accidental oopsies with the spirit speaking to her. To be able to go out and hunt without running into any further problems and finding that perfect bangle at the local market.
Those days have been few and farther between than they should have been. There's been lots of activity. There's been actions and moments of mortal dread. But as you look at Salem and Reverend Noel, you can't help but feel that you've had just that sort of moment, that you've connected with a peaceful opportunity of making money and gotten away from the spirits that bombard the living world and you vicariously. And you're not sure where you got the watch on your left wrist from, but it's almost as good as a bangle. It fits perfectly. It's not too jangly, it's just jangly enough. And then when you twist your wrist, it bounces against the bangles on your left with the perfect flat note. You're not sure whether that's D and E and F. You never really bother to learn the musical scales, but you're sure that it's a flat because there's a lack of a tinkle behind it, nothing really sharp in it, but it sounds like a bass drum in your head. It doesn't directly sound like it, but it inspires that idea of being out far enough away from everybody that could bother you and listening to the sounds of a forest or a swamp or jungle at night. Sure that you're safe away from all of the predators, nothing but stars overhead. And you're looking at Salem and Reverend Noel. Salem, they still have 4 minutes. You're contemplating on cutting it short. Maybe 2 minutes should be more than enough time. You could say you waited the extra time. They wouldn't know. Yet there's still a part of you that wants to keep the letter of your agreements, deals, and contracts as per your decision, not anyone else's. And Mal saunters past the broken, leaking plant, moving from between the buildings like one of the Valkyries of old. The battle still in the offing, fading further and further from audible recognition. Her mouth stained, her eyes glassy. You can see stars, boundless stars in her eyes as she crosses the distance between you. She has a wistful smile on her lips. It's the sort of look that people who have had toe-curling excitement have. It's the sort of finished and satiated look to it.
Got a little thing there on your face, hon. Did you get what you came for?
Oh, I stopped him from dying, but then he fucking shot me. She wipes at her mouth. I fixed that though. He should be alright. And she's like licking the blood off her fingers. Look at this. And she shows her the watch off. I don't remember where I got this, but it's pretty, right?
Very much so. We'll be leaving here momentarily. The boys saw an opportunity to compare their dicks again, so they're doing that. They have currently 3 minutes.
Oh, Lord. Well, sounds about right, I guess. Do you know how to drive this thing? I mean, that other guy, well, Evergreen drove us here, and I don't know if he appreciates us stealing his car, but, I mean, if he ain't here to stop us, why not?
I'm going to assume that if they don't make the timeline I gave them, they're not coming.
I don't know. Prince might be mad we done lost half our team, but at the same time,
There is
stupid is as stupid does.
Can't save people from themselves.
There is a sinking feeling that Salem didn't realize was there when she initially looked at that chronograph. Because it's not really a watch. It's the elevated timepiece of someone who needs to manage everything. Someone who has looked out for her shot vicariously because of their unshakable want of possessing Salem. She recognizes that watch. She's seen that watch. Worn with the face facing inwards, just like it is on Mal's wrist. And speaking of, just as the same as always, realizing that Bo has every thought of flinging him towards that flying, floating kindred, is there anything that Evergreen will say or attempt to distract him or not be made into a projectile?
I thought I was against being made into a projectile?
Doesn't Bo also have guns?
This is my Gimli moment, man. Don't take this from me.
Alright.
I'll be quiet.
If he's up in the air and I am a melee combatant, yeah, I'll just as I get the gist of what he's going for, you know, I'll posture myself to impact. Posture myself for impact. And just say, you know, don't miss, boy.
And as Sin lays shot after shot in his general direction, the bullets bouncing off of the steel around him, Bo flings you with everything he has. And Mallory, in his own way, does what he did with Evergreen on the stairs.
This son of a bitch. And it's weird ass floating bullshit.
Kindred don't fly. You know that. But you feel what it's like to be flying through the air. You understand what pain is. Because Bo is strong as shit. Bo is strong enough to turn a very non-aerodynamic bipedal entity into a projectile. Sin is a trained and practiced marksman, yet hitting a moving target is always harder than, well, it should be. Why won't they just stay still and take the death that you are offering? And as you fly past, as he comes to a rest on the steps, still with the high ground above Sin and Bo, and he raises his hand and plants start tearing through the whole of the ship, you realize Kindred don't fly. And the reason why Kindred don't fly is because without the ability to fly on your own, you do not stop until gravity takes hold or you collide with something else.
Weight of the feather.
That one was sorcerer ritual.
No. I have weight of the feather. I'm gonna be slamming into it, but I shouldn't be, like, terribly fucked.
No, not terribly fucked. Because you've lost most of the weight that adds to your velocity. Your speed and damaging force, the kinetic energy that it took to hurl you at your full weight begins to fall away just by wind shear alone. And as you rush towards the hull of the ship at the same approximate speed of a car rushing through a guardrail at 4 a.m. because the driver decided that tired would not stop them from making good time. Instead of you being embedded into the steel and iron hull of the ship, you bounce off, much like the bullets that Sin is firing. And as the final boss music begins to play, and you hear the ship crying in pain as all of the shoots of this strange non-local flora tear through the hull, Salem, Reverend Noel, and Mal watch as a multi-ton ship begins to sprout strange plants that belonged in the Garden of Eden, belong in the Crescent Valley in Egypt, belong in the memories of some Hollywood set designer when showing what ancient Kemet was like. And you hear the hull bending under the efforts of these strange plants. And you realize what is in the offing. Normally ships of that size, if they hit an iceberg, they're the stuff of epic tragedies. And you hear about the Exxon Valdez and various other ships who sprung a leak in the ocean. Watching it happen so close to the shore, the machinery on board, the 12 relatively innocent human lives on board being sucked under as the ship goes down, fills you with the I told you so of being right and being witness to a tragedy. There will definitely be a tension. And whatever's on that ship is out. It's free. And not one of the male members of the coterie make it back to Evergreen's vehicle before it's time to get behind the wheel of the car, the wheel of the truck, and drive away. With all of those thoughts sitting there on the tip of everyone's mental mind, on mental tongue, there is one important thing I would like to relay. Thank you all for a lovely session, and see you all next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Evil fucking bastard. Evergreen can't catch a break, man. He can catch some big air, but he can't catch a fucking break.